Zariah Keita had felt panic before, but never like this. Not the night she gave birth alone. Not the day they told her newborn didn't survive, without letting her see the body. Not even the mornings she woke with empty arms and a heartbeat that felt like a funeral drum. But losing her job today? This panic had teeth. The city lights smeared across the taxi window as she pressed her forehead against the cool glass. Hangzhou glittered outside, loud and alive, while she quietly fell apart. She could already see the chain reaction. No job meant no rent. No rent meant homelessness. Homelessness meant her mother's hospital bills drowning them both. And all of it slammed into her chest like a door she couldn't break through. Her phone buzzed. A name she had only heard in whispers. LWC, meet me. Noon. Chen Estate. Li Wei Chen. The billionaire people spoke about like a myth. 50 years old. Terrifyingly powerful. A man carved out of ice and old money. A man who didn't take meetings, he summoned people. Why her? Why now? She didn't even have the strength to question it. By noon, she was standing in front of the Chen Estate. A mansion so huge it made her bones feel cheap. The fountains were carved like dragons. The stairs stretched like a red carpet to heaven. The guards didn't even check her ID, they already knew who she was. Inside, the air smelled like power, expensive incense, polished marble, and secrets kept behind silk curtains. He stood at the far end of the hall. Silver streaks threaded through his jet-black hair. His posture straight, controlled. His gaze sharp enough to cut through mirrors. Li Wei Chen didn't look 50. He looked eternal. You're late, he said without turning. His voice carried, quiet, cold, final. Like a judge announcing a sentence. I'm sorry, she stammered. He raised a hand. Silenced her. Sit. She obeyed, without meaning to. He slid a thick envelope across the table to her. Money. Too much money. Enough money to rip her life open and rebuild it. Contract marriage, he said simply. 6 months. I will solve your financial problems. In return, you will play the perfect wife. Beautiful, silent when necessary, useful when required. Her throat tightened. A contract, she whispered. For what? For convenience, he said. For optics. For control. And me? She asked, voice trembling. What do you gain from me? He looked her straight in the eyes. You, Miss Keita, are expendable. The words hit like a slap. She should have stood up. She should have walked out. But hunger and desperation chained her to the chair. Her mother. Her bills. Her lost child, whose absence still bled like a fresh wound. Why me? She whispered at last. He didn't blink. You're a problem that can be shaped. He handed her a pen. Her fingers trembled as she signed the contract, a signature that felt more like handing over her pulse. As she walked through the hallway after sealing her fate, a soft voice broke her steps. Excuse me, ma'am, he needs to pass. Zariah turned. A teenage boy walked toward her, tall, lean, quiet. Dark curls brushed his forehead. His steps were slow, like someone always bracing to flee. But what froze her heart were his eyes. Brown, warm, deep. Her eyes. Her mother's eyes. Her son's eyes. The world stretched, pulled thin, trembling between heartbeat and memory. For a second, Zariah couldn't breathe. He passed by her, but his gaze lingered, confused, curious, strangely familiar. A scar curved along his jawline. Her breath caught. That scar, that scar. Her knees weakened. The assistant touched the boy's shoulder. Come, Ethan. Ethan. His name hit her like a thunderbolt between ribs. The name she had whispered once in a delivery room before they took him away. The name she had chosen for the child she never got to raise. Before she could speak, before she could even breathe a question, he disappeared down the hall, swallowed by the mansion's shadows. Zariah pressed a trembling hand to her chest. No, she whispered. No. No, it can't be. But it could. And Li Wei Chen, the billionaire she had just married, watched her from above the staircase, eyes sharp, unreadable, as if he had been expecting her reaction. As if he knew. She clutched the envelope tighter. She had signed a contract with a man made of ice. And somehow he was raising her son. The east wing of the Chun estate didn't feel like a home. It felt like a beautiful trap. Silk wallpaper, marble floors, a balcony overlooking a lake, so still it looked unreal. Everything smelled like quiet money, cold, polished, untouched. Staff moved silently like shadows, bowing, disappearing, reappearing. Zariah stood in the middle of the room that was now hers, feeling like a stray cat placed inside a crystal cage. She had been married for exactly 3 hours. And in those same 3 hours, she had seen the boy whose eyes still lived in her nightmares. Ethan. Her baby. Her child. Her son. No. Li Wei's adopted son. Her chest tightened again, that same sharpness she had felt in the hallway. The kind that made her bones feel too small for her body. She paced the room because stillness meant remembering. And remembering meant drowning. Rule number 1. Dinner at 7 p.m. sharp. Rule number 2. Always smile in public. Rule number 3. Never question Li Wei's decisions. Rule number 4. The East Wing is yours. The West Wing is his. Rule number 5. Do not enter the northern hallway under any circumstance. The rules were printed, laminated, and placed on her bedside table. Who laminated rules for a wife? She dropped the paper. A knock sounded at her door. Come in, she said softly. A maid entered with a bow. Young Master Chen requests your presence in the greenhouse. Zariah's breath caught. Young Master Chen? The maid hesitated. Ethan. Her pulse tripped. She followed the hallway, long, cold, quiet, until the scent of flowers and warm soil filled the air. The greenhouse was lit with soft lanterns, glowing like a secret world hidden from the rest of the mansion. Ethan stood alone, watering orchids at midnight. His back was turned, shoulders slightly hunched, like someone carrying more weight than his age deserved. His hair curled around his forehead, messy and soft. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, revealing thin wrists, a small scrape, and hands that trembled occasionally. He looked fragile, but he also looked like her. Ethan, she whispered. He didn't startle. He simply turned, slowly, with that same silent, watchful gaze. You're still awake, he said. His voice was deeper than she expected, calm, steady, but with an edge that sounded like a boy who had learned to be older than he was. I couldn't sleep, she admitted. He nodded like he understood too well. Then he pointed to the orchids. They need watering at night. They get stressed in the day. She stepped closer. Do you like orchids? She asked, trying to keep her voice normal, casual, anything but the hurricane ripping through her chest. He looked at the flowers. They're stubborn, he murmured. Hard to kill. Hard to comfort. The words hit her like a mirror. They were both orchids. Zariah's throat tightened. You're stubborn, she whispered before she could stop herself. Ethan's eyes flickered, surprise, then something warmer, then something hurting. For a moment he looked like a child. Then his voice broke softly. Do you have a son? The question stabbed straight through her ribs. Zariah felt the world tilt, greenhouse lights flickering, shadows stretching, her breath caught on the edge of truth and fear. No, she murmured too quickly. I don't. He nodded slowly. He didn't believe her. She could see it in the way his mouth tightened, in the way his eyes searched her face like he was trying to find something long forgotten. He looked down at his shoes. My father, he said quietly. He told me people lie when they're scared. She froze. Ethan lifted his gaze, and in that moment, the boy looked so heartbreakingly familiar, she almost collapsed. He also told me, Ethan continued, voice barely above a whisper, that sometimes people don't know what they've lost until they see it again. Her heart shattered. He set the watering can down. Good night, Mrs. Chun. Mrs. Chun. The title didn't fit her bones. He walked past her gently, carefully, like he was afraid she might break. Or like he might. Zariah turned slowly. Across the greenhouse, behind a panel of glass, Li Chen stood watching. He hadn't moved. He hadn't blinked. He simply observed, silent, unreadable, calculating, like he was watching a game he had already planned 20 moves ahead. And Zariah finally understood something terrifying. Li Wei didn't want a wife. He wanted a piece. A variable. A pawn. And Ethan. Ethan was the prize. Her baby. Her blood. Her heart walking around in a stranger's house with another man's name. She clenched her fists. Whatever game Li Wei was playing, whatever secrets lived in this mansion, whatever truth he was hiding about her son's past, she would find it, even if it killed her. The Chun estate at night felt like a cathedral carved from silence. Cold. Watching. Breathing. Zariah walked through the east wing with her arms wrapped around herself, trying to quiet the storm inside her. She kept seeing Ethan's eyes in the greenhouse. The way he looked at her like he knew her. Like his body remembered something his mind had been forced to forget. She didn't sleep. Instead, she wandered. The house was a maze of locked doors, long hallways, and cameras placed like curious eyes. Every step reminded her she didn't belong here. She was a guest. A prop. A contract. A pawn in someone else's story. She stopped in front of a door she wasn't supposed to enter. The study. A door Li Wei didn't include in the rules. Which meant it was dangerous. Her hand hovered over the handle. Just look, she whispered to herself. Just look. The door opened too easily. The study was dimly lit, filled with dust-heavy books and the faint scent of old paper. A single desk lamp glowed over a stack of files, and for one horrifying second, she thought Li Wei was inside. But he wasn't. He was gone. The silence told her so. She walked toward the desk. That was when she saw it. A ledger. A thick, black leather book. Old. Heavy. Worn. Like something that should have been burned. Her fingers opened it before her mind could stop them. Inside. Names. Numbers. Transactions. Dates. But not business transactions. Children. Infants. Toddlers. Adoptions. Codes. Identifying marks. Some names crossed out. Some marked lost. Some marked sold. Her breath hitched. Then she saw it. A name scribbled in rushed handwriting. Kata, dismissed. Kata. Her mother's name. Her name. And beside the word dismissed was a code number, one she recognized instantly. It was the number on the hospital bracelet they had forced onto her wrists 16 years ago. Her knees buckled. Oh God, she whispered, clutching the desk. Oh God, Ethan. Her hand shook as she shut the ledger. Someone had trafficked her son. Someone had taken him. Not because he died, not because of hospital complications, but because he had been chosen. Chosen. Bought. Moved. And Li Wei had the ledger. Her blood ran cold. Footsteps echoed outside the study. Zariah froze, heart slamming against her ribs. She shoved the ledger back exactly where she found it, turned off the lamp, and slipped into the shadows. The door opened. Li Wei walked in. Not rushed. Not surprised. Calm. Controlled. Like a man who already knew she was there. She stayed hidden behind the thick curtains near the window, praying he couldn't hear her breathing. His steps were slow, deliberate, as he approached the desk. He didn't look around. He didn't call her name. He simply touched the ledger with a single finger and smiled. Not warmly. Not gently. But knowingly. Dangerously. Curiosity, he murmured into the empty room, is the most expensive trait a woman can have. Zariah's heart stopped. He knew. He knew she'd been here. He waited a moment, then closed the ledger and walked out, shutting the door with the soft finality of a prison gate. Only when she was sure he was gone did she slip out of hiding, her hands shaking violently. She didn't stop shaking even when she reached her bedroom. She didn't sleep. Couldn't. Because for the first time she understood. Li Wei wasn't just dangerous. He was involved. Deeply. Historically. Personally. Ethan wasn't an accident in his life. He wasn't a charity adoption. He wasn't a rescue. He was a piece. A piece Li Wei needed. For something bigger than family. Bigger than marriage. Bigger than the contract she stupidly signed. And she had walked right into the center of it. The next morning, a knock jolted her awake. She sat up, heart hammering. The door opened. Ethan stood there, hair messy, eyes clouded with something she didn't recognize. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. Zariah nodded, breath trembling. "Of course." They sat on the edge of her bed. Quiet. Close. Painfully close. "I had a dream," Ethan murmured. A woman crying. Holding a blanket. Calling someone's name. Zariah's throat tightened. "What name?" she whispered. He looked at her. Really looked. "Ethan," he said softly. She was calling me Ethan. Her tears spilled before she could catch them. He frowned, confused. "Why do you look like that hurts?" "Because it was me. Because I'm your mother. Because everything that was stolen from me is sitting right in front of me, trying to understand his own past with no memories." But she couldn't tell him. Not yet. Not without proof. Not without shattering him. "You're okay," she whispered instead, brushing a tear away. "You're safe." He studied her face like he was memorizing it. Then, a loud crash thundered through the mansion. Shouting. Running footsteps. Slamming doors. Ethan jumped up. What was that? Zariah's stomach dropped. Because the scream that followed wasn't a normal scream. It was a warning. A staff member burst into the room, pale, shaking. "Madam, Ethan, you need to hide. Now." "They've breached the gates." "Who?" Zariah gasped. The woman's voice trembled. "Silver Fox." Ethan froze. Zariah froze. Everyone knew that name. It was whispered like a ghost story. A syndicate. A trafficking network. A shadow organization. The same symbol she saw in the ledger. The same group that had taken her baby 16 years ago. The same group Li Wei had been tied to. The same group that now was coming for Ethan. She grabbed his hand. "Run." The alarms shook the mansion. Red lights flashed across the walls, slicing through the elegant corridors like bloodstains. The staff scattered, some screaming, some whispering prayers, some simply frozen. Zariah grabbed Ethan's hand so tightly her nails dug into his skin. "Stay with me," she whispered. He nodded, breath trembling, eyes wide with fear he was trying to hide. They ran. Down the hall. Past the portraits of stern-faced ancestors. Past the locked doors. Past the glass case that shattered behind them as a bullet tore through it. Ethan flinched violently. Zariah didn't let go. "Where are we going?" Ethan breathed. "To safety," she lied because she had no idea where safety was in this mansion anymore. A shadow flashed behind the staircase. Zariah pulled Ethan behind a column. Boots. Masks. Guns. At least 6 men stormed the corridor, dressed in black, faces covered in the silver fox symbol. Her chest tightened. Her hands shook. Ethan whispered, "They're here for me, aren't they?" She swallowed. "Yes." His face crumbled for just a moment. "Why?" "Not now," she whispered. "Please, not now." They waited until the men disappeared down another hallway, then sprinted again. Zariah's mind raced. Silver Fox is here. They want Ethan. Li Wei knew. The ledger wasn't an archive, it was a map. She felt sick. At the end of the hallway, the door to the panic room glowed faintly. Ethan saw it first. "There, come on." He grabbed her hand and pulled her forward. But right before they reached the door, another door swung open violently. Zariah screamed. Ethan staggered, and a hand pulled them both inside. The door slammed. Locked. Zariah whirled around, a knife in her hand before she even realized she had picked it up. And there he was. Li Wei Chen. Calm. Composed. Suit immaculate. Not a single trace of panic in him. Like this entire crisis had been rehearsed. "Put the knife down, Zariah," he said softly. His calmness only made her angrier. More terrified. "Why are they here?" she snapped. "What do they want with Ethan?" He didn't answer. He turned to Ethan instead, touching the boy's face with a strange mixture of gentleness and restraint. "Are you hurt?" Li Wei asked. Ethan shook his head. "You scared me," Li Wei whispered. Something about that voice, low, rough, almost tender, confused Zariah. He loved Ethan. He truly loved him. But love and secrets were not opposites. Sometimes they were twins. Li Wei, Zariah began. He turned to her. For the first time since she arrived at the estate, the mask slipped slightly. Everything I've done, he said quietly, I have done to protect this boy. No, Zariah stepped forward. You've been hiding him. From who? From what? And why? Why do those men want him? Li Wei exhaled slowly. You want the truth?
His voice was low. Fine.
But not here. He pressed a button on the wall. A metal panel slid open, revealing a hidden elevator. Ethan tensed. You said we'd never use that. Li Wei's jaw tightened. And I hoped we wouldn't. Zariah felt cold. The elevator descended deeper than the foundations of the house should even go. Down past the basement. Past the security vaults. Into something colder. A bunker. A large one. Filled with surveillance screens, files, maps, weapons. And, in the center, a screen with Ethan's face displayed. Multiple photos. Different ages. Different locations. Zariah staggered back. What is this? Li Wei stepped forward. It's protection. It's surveillance, she cried. You tracked him his whole life. Because if I didn't, he would have been dead before he turned 5. The words hit the room like a slap. Ethan's breath hitched. Dad, what does that mean? Li Wei looked at him, then at Zariah, then back at him with an expression she couldn't decode. You were born into danger, Ethan. Zariah's voice cracked. He was a newborn. What danger could he possibly be in? Li Wei hesitated, only for a second. But that hesitation felt like a confession. Tell me, Zariah whispered. Tell me the truth. Li Wei's voice was soft, deadly, and devastating. Ethan wasn't stolen randomly. He was targeted. Zariah felt her heart stop. Li Wei continued. Your son is the last surviving heir of the man who founded Silver Fox. The world caved in. What? Ethan whispered. No, that's not. I'm not. Zariah grabbed his hands. You're not them. You're not any of them. Li Wei's voice cut through the panic. Silver Fox wants him back. To raise him. To mold him. To make him into what his bloodline demands. But you adopted him, Zariah whispered, trembling. You saved him. Li Wei turned to her, eyes unreadable.
No.
I stole him first. The floor vanished beneath her. Ethan froze like he'd been electrocuted. But Li Wei wasn't done. And the woman who gave birth to him. He looked directly into Zariah's eyes. She was never supposed to find him again. Her knees buckled. He stepped toward her. Not threatening. Just knowing. You were supposed to stay away, Zariah. Her voice cracked like breaking glass. I am his mother. Li Wei's expression softened. Painfully. And that, he whispered, is exactly why Silver Fox will kill you first. The bunker lights flickered. The security alarms shrieked again. And on the screen, Silver Fox operatives breached the second gate. Then the first bunker door. Then the hallway leading straight to them. Li Wei's face hardened. They're coming. He grabbed Ethan's shoulders.
Run. Both of you. Now.
What about you? Ethan cried. Li Wei's voice shook for the first time. I'm going to stop them. You'll die. Zariah screamed. He smiled faintly. I know. And then, he pushed them through a back exit tunnel as the bunker door exploded behind them, light flashing, metal twisting, alarms howling. Ethan screamed. Zariah grabbed him. They ran. And the last thing they heard was Li Wei Chen's voice, roaring through smoke and chaos. You will not touch my son. Thunder rolled over the Chen estate as if the sky itself disapproved of the night Li Wei had chosen for a private family dinner. Zariah stood before her mirror, fingers trembling as she fastened the pearl clasp of her dress. It was white silk, too soft for the kind of night she sensed coming, too pure for a house full of shadows. Ethan had slipped a note under her door earlier. Don't sit near Madame Chen. Don't drink anything she pours. Don't talk about the North Wing. And don't let father see you shake. Her heart had stuttered at the last line. Why would Li Wei care if she shook? She tucked the note into her bra and walked out. The dining room was oppressive, gold chandeliers, red walls, portraits of dead Chens staring down like witnesses. Madame Chen sat at the end of the table smiling. It wasn't a warm smile. It wasn't even human. It was the smile of a woman who ate weakness for breakfast. Zariah, she purred as if she hadn't tried to poison her 4 nights ago. You look refreshed. Zariah forced a polite bow. Thank you, Ma. Li Wei entered next. Black suit, black eyes, black intentions. He placed a hand on Zariah's lower back, softly, gently, deceptively. The stew is hot, he murmured. Eat slowly. She nodded even though her stomach churned. Ethan entered last. And he didn't sit until Li Wei gave a single nod. A silent command. A silent obedience. The room felt colder. Wine was poured. Zariah kept her fingers wrapped around the glass, but didn't lift it. Madame Chen noticed. A thin smile curled. Zariah, she said sweetly, rumor says you're afraid we'll poison you. Her tone was silk-wrapped steel. Zariah's heart stopped. Li Wei didn't look up from his chopsticks. Zariah responded quietly. I'm not afraid of poison, Ma. I'm only afraid of what I don't understand. A flicker, surprise? Annoyance? Respect? It passed across Madame Chen's face before she sipped her wine again. Ethan's eyes were wide, impressed, proud, terrified. Then the door slammed open. A woman walked in wearing red lipstick and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. S.H. Mail-in. The woman Li Wei once loved. The woman Ethan adored. The woman whose shadow filled every hallway in the house. She didn't wait to be invited. Sorry I'm late, Mail-in announced, tossing her coat onto a chair. But since we're all pretending to be one big happy family, I thought I should join. Zariah's spine went rigid. Li Wei froze, for half a second. Then he stood, calm and unreadable. You were not invited, he said. Since when do I need an invitation to speak to my son? Mail-in snapped. Ethan's breath hitched. Zariah grabbed the table to steady herself. Mail-in moved behind Ethan, resting possessive hands on his shoulders. You told everyone I abandoned him, she spat at Li Wei. That I left him crying in the rain like trash. She leaned down, whispering into Ethan's ear. Sweetheart, tell them who used to tuck you into bed, who held you when you had nightmares. Ethan trembled. Madame Chen looked furious. Li Wei stayed still, too still. Zariah felt her lungs burning. Mail-in turned her gaze to Zariah, eyes glittering with venom and curiosity. And you, she purred. The new bride. How does it feel marrying a man old enough to be your father? Zariah lifted her chin. It feels like peace, she answered calmly. Something you seem unfamiliar with. Mail-in blinked, taken aback. Ethan bit his lip, trying not to smile. Li Wei? He watched Zariah like she had just solved a puzzle he'd been stuck on for years. Mail-in scoffed. Bold. Zariah replied, necessary. The room held its breath. Then Ethan stood. Stop, he said, voice breaking. Just stop. He looked at Mail-in. Ma, where have you been? Why didn't you come back? Mail-in's eyes softened, painfully. I tried, she whispered. Your father. Li Wei slammed his hand on the table. Enough. The plates jumped. Ethan stiffened. Zariah's heart stuttered. Mail-in's smile returned, this time cold and triumphant. Oh, are we finally talking about the North Wing? She taunted. The room dropped into complete silence. Madame Chen rose to her feet, trembling. Mail-in, don't. Zariah blinked, pulse thundering. The North Wing. The rules she'd been told never to break. Li Wei stepped forward, voice quiet, deadly. You will leave.
Now.
Mail-in tilted her head. Because of what's in the North Wing? She turned to Zariah. Should I tell your new bride who sleeps in the room you're hiding? Zariah's blood ran cold. Ethan whispered. Mail-in, don't. Li Wei's jaw clenched so hard a muscle flickered. What? Zariah whispered, voice catching, is in the North Wing? Li Wei didn't answer, but Mail-in did, with a smile that almost felt like pity. A woman, she said. Someone who looks exactly like you. Zariah staggered backward. Ethan gasped. Madam Chen crossed herself. Li Wei took a single step toward Malin, and Malin fled the room. Zariah stared at her husband, heart pounding like a trapped animal. You have a woman locked in the north wing? She rasped. Li Wei held her gaze. No, he said quietly. I have your mirror locked in the north wing. The lights flickered. The room cracked open with shock, and Zariah felt the floor fall away beneath her feet. The night felt split, like reality itself had cracked. Zariah stared at Li Wei as thunder rumbled across the sky. Her heartbeat crashed in her ears. Her breath trembled. What do you mean, my mirror? She whispered. Li Wei didn't look away. Follow me, he said quietly. But understand this. Once you see what's behind that door, you can't unsee it. Her legs shook, but she moved. Ethan rose too. Li Wei raised a hand.
No.
She comes alone. Ethan's face fell. Zariah gently touched his cheek. It's okay. I'll be back. But as she walked away, she wasn't sure she believed her own words. The hallway grew colder with each step. The lights dimmed. This part of the mansion felt abandoned, suffocating, haunted. At the final door, Li Wei paused. Before I show you, he said, you need to understand something. His voice lowered, dark and almost broken. Saving Ethan wasn't the only reason I married you. Her throat tightened painfully. What else? She whispered. Li Wei hesitated, the first time she had ever seen him show anything resembling fear. Then, he unlocked the door. It creaked open, and Zariah gasped. Inside the room was a bed, a set of 4 bags, monitors, a locked cabinet, and a woman. A woman lying still. A woman whose face was
me.
Zariah's voice shattered. It was her face. Her exact face. Sleeping.
Pale.
Breathing shallowly. A ghost version of herself. Zariah stumbled backward, gripping the wall. What is this? Who is she? Li Wei stepped beside her. She's you, he said softly. Or, rather, she was you. Zariah shook her head violently. No, that's impossible. Li Wei lifted a file from the cabinet and handed it to her. Her name was printed on it. Her blood type. Her fingerprints. Her old address. Everything. This is the woman Ethan was found with, Li Wei said quietly. Beaten. Unconscious. Unable to speak. Zariah's knees weakened. When we took Ethan, Li Wei continued, she grabbed my wrist. She tried to talk. She whispered one sentence. Zariah's lips trembled. What did she say? Li Wei's eyes met hers. Intense, dark, heavy. Take care of my son and protect her. Zariah froze. Protect who? Li Wei reached out and touched her cheek. You. Her breath broke. Me? That doesn't make sense. He stepped closer. She knew someone was coming for you. Someone dangerous. Someone who already tried once and nearly killed you. Zariah felt ice spread across her skin. So she let them take her instead, Li Wei whispered. To buy you time. To make them think you were dead. No. Zariah backed away shaking. This is insane. I don't even know her. I don't. Li Wei's voice hardened. You do. He handed her another document. A birth certificate. Hers. Zariah read the first line. Her heart stopped. Her breath vanished. Her stomach twisted. The paper slipped from her hands. I have a twin. Li Wei nodded once. The real Zariah died, and the world thinks the woman in this bed is you. Zariah clutched her chest as the world spun. No, not died, Li Wei corrected, voice low. Taken. Her vision blurred. Taken. Her twin was taken. Because of Zariah. Her voice cracked. Why didn't you tell me? Li Wei approached her slowly. Because the people who took your twin, he said, are the same people who want Ethan. He paused. And the same people who want you. A chill shot down her spine. Who? She whispered. Li Wei exhaled. Your biological father. Zariah staggered backward. My father died when I was 6. He lied. Li Wei's voice was a blade. He's alive. And he wants his bloodline back. Her head rang. She covered her ears. Stop. Stop. He wants Ethan because the boy has something he needs. Zariah's voice trembled. What can my son possibly have? Li Wei's expression turned grim. Your father runs a private medical empire. Illegal procedures. Genetic mapping. Organ trade. He's been searching for you and your twin for years. Her heart raced. He wants one of you alive, Li Wei continued, and one of you dead. Zariah swayed. Li Wei grabbed her just before she collapsed. Why? She whispered, barely holding on. Li Wei held her close. Because, he whispered, your father needs a perfect genetic match for the surgery that's keeping him alive. And he doesn't care who dies on the operating table, you or your twin. Zariah screamed. Ethan heard it. He burst into the hallway. Zariah! He ran straight into her arms. Li Wei placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. They found us, Li Wei said, voice chillingly calm. They're coming tonight. Thunder struck. Windows rattled. The mansion trembled. Ethan clutched Zariah's waist. Mom, he whispered. She froze. He didn't say Mrs. Chen. He didn't say Zariah. He said,
Mom.
Something inside her cracked and healed at the same time. Li Wei tightened his grip on their shoulders. We run tonight, he said. All three of us. Zariah looked up at him, fear and fury and love and hatred all tangled together. You're not saving us, she whispered. You're running too. Li Wei didn't deny it. Glass shattered downstairs. Men shouted. Footsteps thundered. The walls of the Chin mansion shook as the doors were forced open. Zariah grabbed Ethan's hand. Li Wei grabbed her other. Season 2, he said, eyes blazing, begins with war. And the three of them ran into the storm.